how forensic science cracked the mystery of Esther Gonzalez's murder. Before we dive in, kindly hit the subscribe button and let us know where you are watching from in the comment. The sun had barely broken over the skyline of Jersey City when the first call came in. It was Monday, August 22nd, 2022. Esther Gonzalez hadn't shown up to work. Not unusual for most people, but this wasn't like her. Esther was never late, never missed a call, never left friends on read. She was steady, dependable. She had routines. She planned everything, right down to her meals and coffee orders. When she vanished without a word, people noticed fast. By lunchtime, coworkers were calling her phone nonstop. By evening, her family was worried. And by the next morning, her apartment was eerily silent. Esther Gonzalez, a 31-year-old project manager with a wide smile and a sharp wit, had simply disappeared. No sign of a struggle, no messages left behind, no leads, just a sudden silence that would soon become a nationwide mystery. Esther wasn't the kind of woman who made enemies. Born in San Diego to a military family, she moved often. Guam, Florida, Texas, but New Jersey? That's where she found her place. She had a tight group of friends, a job she liked, a dog she adored. Those who knew her called her the glue. She remembered birthdays, showed up for moving days, baked brownies for team meetings. Her Instagram was full of group selfies, sunset walks, and motivational quotes. She radiated joy, at least on the surface. But behind that smile, there were hints of struggle. A breakup she never quite got over, a loneliness she kept private, and a dating life that had grown increasingly risky. Esther had recently started seeing someone new, a man she met online, and that would prove to be the first red flag. He called himself Jay, tall, charismatic, a fitness trainer with smooth talk and charm to spare. Esther's friends weren't fans. He never came around, never met the group, always had excuses. When they pushed Esther about it, she brushed it off. "He's different," she'd say. "He's just private." But her best friend, Tasha, didn't buy it. "Esther always introduced us to her boyfriends," she later told police. "This guy, he was a ghost." And then came the texts. Strange, short, sometimes cryptic. On Sunday, August 21st, Esther texted Tasha something that would haunt her forever. "If anything happens to me, look at Jay." It was the last message she would ever send. Detectives were called in by Tuesday morning. Esther's apartment was neat. Too neat. Her phone was gone. So was her purse. But her keys were still on the kitchen counter. There were no signs of forced entry. No blood. No broken furniture. Her dog had been left without food. Neighbors hadn't seen or heard anything unusual, except for one. A man in a hoodie, standing outside the building Sunday night, pacing, looking up at Esther's window. Security cameras? Offline. Power outage reported Sunday night. Coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. What police knew for sure was this. Esther had vanished between Sunday evening and early Monday morning. And Jay was now suspect number one. Flyers went up across Jersey City. Friends, co-workers, and volunteers canvassed neighborhoods. They checked hospitals, shelters, even bus stations. Hashtags flooded social media. Hashtag find Esther. Hashtag where is Esther. The pressure on police mounted fast. They traced her phone. Last pinged near Liberty State Park at 2:17 a.m. on Monday. Cadaver dogs were brought in. Boats scanned the water. Still nothing. It was as if Esther had vanished into the air. Then came a tip. A woman claimed she'd seen someone matching Esther's description at a gas station miles away. Looking dazed, barefoot, and afraid. CCTV footage confirmed it. It was Esther, but the footage was grainy. The timestamp? 2:19 a.m. Just 2 minutes after her phone had gone dark. She wasn't alone. A man stood beside her, holding her arm tightly, face hidden under a hood. 12 days after Esther disappeared, a jogger made a grim discovery. In a wooded area near a rest stop in Middlesex County, 30 miles from Jersey City, they found a shallow grave. Inside, A woman's body, partially buried, face bruised, clothing torn. It was Esther. The autopsy would later confirm she'd been strangled. Defensive wounds on her hands, skin under her fingernails. She had fought hard, but she hadn't stood a chance. The news shattered her family, her friends, her city, and the investigation took a darker turn. Because DNA found at the scene wasn't just from Esther. It was matched to a man named Jamal J. Thompson, a personal trainer with a criminal past. He had served time for assault in Georgia, and he had changed his name in New Jersey. The same J. Esther had been dating. When police went to his apartment, it was empty. He'd cleared out, vanished, just like Esther had. Neighbors hadn't seen him in days. His car was missing, his phone turned off, his gym membership canceled. And so began a nationwide manhunt. Interpol alerts were issued, his face plastered across news outlets. "Have you seen this man?" The headlines read. But for weeks, nothing. No sightings, no transactions, no social media. He'd evaporated. But forensic science? It doesn't lie, and it was about to catch up with him. In Esther's car, found abandoned near Newark, crime scene techs made a discovery. A single hair, stuck in the seatbelt buckle. Not Esther's, not Jay's, someone else's. The lab ran the DNA. The results changed everything. It matched a woman named Layla Brown, Jay's ex-girlfriend. She lived in Atlanta. Police flew there immediately, and what Layla revealed would blow the case wide open. The door to apartment 3B in Atlanta creaked open. Inside stood Layla Brown, wide-eyed, pale and trembling. She hadn't spoken to Jamal J. Thompson in months. Not since he packed his bags, moved north, and vanished from her life like a ghost. Now, 2 New Jersey detectives were standing in her living room. They had flown down after DNA found in Esther Gonzalez's abandoned car linked back to her. She was stunned, but what she said next would change the entire direction of the case. Layla sat at her kitchen table, hands shaking around a mug of untouched coffee. She didn't ask why the detectives were there. She already knew. "I told him someday he'd go too far," she said quietly. She had met Jamal in 2017. He was magnetic, mysterious, and had that smooth charm that pulled people in. At first, he was perfect. Flowers, compliments, fancy dinners. But then, things changed. "He started controlling everything," she said. "What I wore, who I talked to, how I spent money." Then came the rage, the jealousy, the bruises. Layla had tried to leave once. He broke her arm, so she stayed, until the night he disappeared. After Jamal vanished, Layla found something disturbing. A spiral notebook tucked under a floorboard in the bedroom closet. Inside were names, dates, photos, notes, almost like a diary, but not his. It was a list of women, dozens of them, all with chilling descriptions. Weak, trusting, easy to manipulate, fatherless, desperate. And there, on the final page, was a name circled in red ink. Esther G. Layla never called the police. She was terrified. "I thought maybe he'd finally moved on. I didn't think he'd kill her," she whispered. But now she was ready to talk. And she had more than stories. She had evidence. Layla gave detectives everything. Photos, emails, a burner phone Jamal had left behind. Even a hard drive full of videos she never dared to watch. Back in Jersey, investigators dove in. What they uncovered was chilling. Jamal had been running a long game. He wasn't just a personal trainer. He was a predator, a manipulator, a chameleon who built identities, charmed his way into women's lives, and then vanished when things got complicated. Sometimes with money, sometimes with secrets, sometimes maybe with lives. Esther wasn't the first woman he targeted, and they were starting to believe she might not be the first to die. Investigators cross-checked names from the notebook with public records. 3 were untraceable. One had filed a restraining order in 2019, claimed Jamal had stalked her after they met on a dating app. Another had vanished in 2021, but there had never been a missing persons report. Her family thought she'd moved away, Now, they weren't so sure. The more they dug, the darker the story became. Jamal wasn't just hiding. He was possibly a serial predator, maybe even a serial killer. Back in Jersey City, police had a new plan. Bait him. They created a fake online profile, used photos and language based on Esther's messages with Jamal. They waited. 2 weeks later, someone took the bait. A new profile, new name, but the same pattern. Late-night messages, compliments, manipulation. It was him. He was still active, still hunting, and he had no idea the net was closing. Then came the break. A bank transaction in Miami. Someone withdrew $200 from a Wells Fargo ATM. Using an alias police had already flagged. Security footage confirmed it. There he was, Jamal Thompson, wearing a baseball cap, sunglasses, but unmistakably him. He was alive, and now they knew where he was. A task force mobilized. Surveillance units tracked him from the bank to a hostel in Little Havana. He was using fake papers, staying under the radar, but he made one mistake. He left a fingerprint on a trash bin outside the hostel. It was a match, and police moved in. It was 2:12 a.m. when the door came crashing down. He was asleep, alone. For more chilling true crime stories, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. The courtroom in Essex County was dead silent. Reporters filled every row. Sketch artists furiously captured every glare, twitch, and smirk. Esther Gonzalez's family sat in the front row, hands clenched, hearts braced. And at the defense table, Jamal J. Thompson, in a gray suit, calm, cold, unbothered. He looked like he didn't belong there, but that was his gift, and it was about to be stripped away layer by layer, because what unfolded in that courtroom wasn't just a murder trial. It was a dissection of a predator's life. The prosecution didn't waste time. ADA Natalie Reyes stood tall, fire in her voice. This man didn't just kill Esther Gonzalez. He hunted her, studied her, lured her, and then disposed of her like she was nothing. She laid out the evidence. DNA on Esther's jacket, Jamal's fingerprints inside her abandoned car, the burner phones, the bloodied suitcase, the digital trail of manipulation, deceit, and death. And then her bombshell. We believe the defendant may be responsible for the disappearances of at least 7 other women across 5 states. Gasps, audible, sharp. The judge called for order, but the room had already shifted. This wasn't a one-off murder. This was possibly America's next serial killer, hiding in plain sight for years. Jamal's attorney, Arthur Beck, painted a different picture. Calm, reasonable one. Yes, Jamal had dated Esther. Yes, he had a troubled past. But a killer? Ladies and gentlemen, Beck said, you're looking at a man who has made mistakes, but not murder. He questioned the forensics, called the digital evidence circumstantial, accused the police of confirmation bias. He even pointed fingers back at Esther, implying she lived a risky lifestyle. The gallery erupted in outrage. Esther's sister sobbed, but the damage was done. This was going to be a dirty, vicious fight. Layla Brown was the first to testify. She took the stand in tears, told the jury about the abuse, the notebook, the threats. He said no one would believe me if I ever told. He said he was untouchable. Her voice cracked. Her hands trembled. Then she described the names, the codes, the obsessive control. When asked about the last time she saw Jamal, her voice dropped to a whisper. He said, sometimes women are like glass, and some glass is meant to shatter. You could hear jaws drop. Next came the digital forensics team. A special agent from the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit walked the jury through what they found. Hidden folders with names like Harvest, Fails, and Next. Dozens of voice memos. Encrypted chat logs between Jamal and multiple women, including Esther. GPS tags that placed him in Phoenix around the time Karina Holt disappeared. Then came the video. The courtroom darkened. Projector lit up. On screen, Esther, laughing in a park. Filmed from a distance, unaware. A date appeared on the footage, 4 days before she vanished. It was sickening. Stalker's watch. Killer's plan. This wasn't random. This was meticulous. Midway through week 3, a surprise witness was called. A woman named Camila Duarte. She was alive. She had escaped. She told the jury she met Jamal under a fake name, Chris. They dated for 3 weeks. Then he drugged her. She woke up in a motel room, naked, bruised, terrified. He told her she was lucky and left. She never told anyone until she saw his face on the news. "I thought I was going crazy," she cried. "But he's real. And he almost killed me." The jury stared in horror. The DA rested her case. Beck tried to spin it. Said Camila had no proof. Said the FBI overreached. But the damage was irreversible. Every denial from Jamal's camp was met with another leak. Another cold case reopening. Another state launching an investigation. And then came the final nail. When Jamal took the stand, it was theater. He was smug, polished, charming. He downplayed every accusation until Ada Reyes stood up and dropped one last file on the witness stand. "Mr. Thompson, this is your voice, correct?" She pressed play. A voice filled the courtroom. His voice, whispering on a phone call. "She cried when I closed the trunk, but it was too late. She saw my real face." He froze. No expression, no denial, just silence. Then, a smirk. He smiled, like he was proud. After 6 weeks, the jury deliberated for 3 hours. The courtroom was at capacity. Reporters lined the halls. The foreman stood. Guilty. On all counts. First-degree murder, kidnapping, tampering with evidence, and conspiracy to commit murder across state lines. Esther's family broke down. So did Camila. Jamal showed no emotion, just a quiet nod, like he knew it was coming, like he didn't care. He was sentenced to life without parole. But it wasn't over. Not yet. Within days of the conviction, police in Arizona, Florida, and Illinois announced new investigations. The metadata Jamal left behind was being cracked open like a vault. They now believed he may have operated under 5 separate aliases. More missing women were being linked to him. Esther Gonzalez may have been the case that brought him down, but she wasn't the beginning. And horrifyingly, she might not have been the end. After the trial, the world thought it was over. But the truth? The trial was just the beginning. Because in the weeks that followed, the FBI cracked open a trove of digital evidence that would shake law enforcement to its core and reveal a horror far bigger than anyone imagined. Jamal J. Thompson wasn't just a killer. He was a collector, and his collection told a story that spanned years. Back in evidence lockup, a digital crime specialist named Marcus Kellner reopened Jamal's seized laptop. It had already been combed during the trial, but something felt off. Too clean, too basic. Kellner dug deeper beneath decoy folders and scrubbed drives. And then he found it. A hidden partition labeled V3NUS. Encrypted, triple-locked, obscured with fake system files. But after 4 days, they broke through. Inside, 72 video files, 143 voice notes, dozens of PDFs, scanned IDs, and GPS maps. A folder labeled Purity with 22 names. Each name had a date. Each date aligned with a missing woman across the country. None of them had ever been linked until now. The FBI immediately called in its VICAP team, Violent Criminal Apprehension Program. They started mapping the names. Angela Chin, Marissa Tillman, Nora Devine, Chloe Hart, Vanessa Reeves. One by one, the puzzle came together. Angela disappeared from Portland in 2016. Her body was never found. Marissa went missing in Tampa in 2018. Cold case. Nora vanished in Albuquerque, 2019. Presumed runaway. The dates, photos, and coordinates in Jamal's files placed him within 10 miles of each victim at the time of disappearance. He had created a digital graveyard. Organized, cataloged, cherished. It was monstrous. Alongside the victim files, agents found a 67-page PDF titled playbook. It wasn't fiction. It was a guide, written by Jamal himself. Step-by-step breakdowns of how to manipulate women, how to isolate them, how to mask travel, what to say, what not to leave behind. It even included scripts, messages he had copy-pasted to lure multiple women. I'm just looking for real connection. No games. You're not like the others, and I see that. Let's meet somewhere quiet. Just us. The same lines. Over and over. He wasn't improvising. He was executing. With the new evidence, the FBI reached out to police departments in 6 states. A task force was formed. Each state opened cold case files now linked to Jamal through cell tower data, ATM footage, traffic cams, hotel check-ins under aliases, rental car records. In one case, Jamal had rented a cabin in Utah under the name Brian Fields. A woman named Daniela Voss had vanished that same weekend. In another, a roadside camera in Missouri caught his car parked near a wooded area the night Emily Darden disappeared. And in all cases, no bodies, just silence. And now the silence was screaming. Then came the call from Michigan. A woman named Clarissa Bennett. She said she had seen Jamal's face on TV, and that she had something. She had survived. Clarissa met Jamal in 2017, when he was going by Malik. They dated. He was charming, until the night he changed. She fled before it escalated, but not before stealing a notebook from his car. She had kept it hidden for years. Now she handed it over. It matched the handwriting in the playbook file. Inside were cryptic notes. V, new subject, check ID. ND, resistive, increased dosage. ETL, burial site maybe. The initials matched victims. The notes hinted at drugs, burial, experimentation. This wasn't just a killer. It was a man who was testing, learning, evolving. Back in New Jersey, Esther's family was notified of the new developments. The thought of her being one of many was unbearable. But her case had done something rare. It had opened a door into a serial predator's mind. And now other families had a chance at answers. Some closure, others heartbreak. In one voice note, Jamal could be heard whispering. She said she wanted to go home. I said, "You are home now." Then it was done. The girl he referred to, still unidentified. By now, every major network had picked up the story. The tech-savvy killer, the collector of silence. How Esther Gonzalez brought down a ghost. Podcasts launched instant specials. Netflix announced a docuseries. Books were in development. But no one could answer the biggest question. How many women did he really kill? The body count was still unknown. The files hinted at 22. But Jamal was silent, locked away, smiling. In one video, agents found Jamal filming himself walking through a dense forest. Night vision on. He speaks softly to the camera. This one was different. Took longer. But the ground is soft here. That clip led search teams to a remote site in northern Pennsylvania. And there, beneath the leaves, they found bones. Partial. Scattered. Female. DNA later confirmed. Vanessa Reeves. She had been missing for 4 years. Her family was finally able to bury her. And the public finally saw the monster behind the smile. We've now seen Jamal's methods, his tools, his digital secrets. But in Chapter 5, the final chapter, will go deeper into the psychological profile that left even FBI profilers shaken. The horrifying potential victim list still being verified. And Jamal's chilling final letter to Esther's sister, mailed from prison. It's a finale filled with dread, truth, and unanswered questions. Because even now, we still don't know where all the bodies are. And some say Jamal might not have worked alone. It had been months since Jamal Thompson was sentenced. His name was everywhere. Netflix, CNN, TikTok. He wasn't just a murderer. He had become America's new face of evil. But behind the bars of a federal supermax facility in Colorado, Jamal had one more secret to share, and it would change everything. It arrived on a rainy Wednesday morning, addressed to Alicia Gonzalez, Esther's sister. No return name, just a prison postmark and tight, clinical handwriting. Inside, A 3-page letter, written in neat cursive. It began with one chilling line. "You were right to doubt the story." Alicia froze. She had testified, fought, screamed that Jamal wasn't telling the whole truth. Now he was reaching out. Why? Was it guilt? Or something else? FBI profiler Dr. Lena Ashford was brought in to analyze the letter. She had spent 2 decades studying serial offenders. What she found in Jamal's writing chilled her. It's not a confession. It's a challenge. He's still playing games. Jamal described moments with Esther, but never used her name. He called her Subject 12. He detailed the day he met her at the farmer's market, how he watched her for 3 weeks, how he tested her reactions to small interactions, how he waited until she was isolated and emotionally pliable. He never showed remorse, only pride. Halfway through the letter, Jamal dropped a name. D. He wrote, "D handled most of the logistics after Subject 10. I just focused on extraction." The FBI had no record of a D. Was it a partner? A trafficker? Another killer? They ran the handwriting again, checked visitor logs, reviewed his digital records, and they found something strange. 2 logins from different IP addresses after Jamal's arrest. One came from South Carolina, another from Ontario, Canada. Someone else had access to his encrypted cloud drive. Someone still free. Meanwhile, the bones of another victim, found in Pennsylvania, were being re-examined. Thanks to new micro-CT scanning, analysts discovered healing fractures. Signs the victim had been kept alive for weeks, not days. She wasn't killed immediately. She suffered, and her bones bore the marks: burns, shackling, starvation, and a single puncture wound behind the ear. It was a method seen in autopsies across multiple cold cases, never connected until now. A needle mark, likely a sedative. It matched residue found on Esther's sweater. Then came a break. The FBI recovered an old flash drive Jamal had hidden inside a car battery at his uncle's abandoned auto shop. Inside, camera footage, private, horrifying, unflinching. Each victim was filmed, most of them unaware, some of them drugged. The files were tagged by initials and timestamps, but one stood out: S12, final.mov. It was Esther, the last hour of her life. And in the background, a voice, not Jamal's, another man, older, calm, giving instructions. It wasn't just Jamal. He had help. Authorities released a composite audio clip from the video. They enhanced the voice, crowdsourced analysis. Thousands of tips poured in. One led to a former private security contractor named Derek Weston. He worked overseas, disappeared in 2021. Last known address? Montreal. The pieces started connecting. Flight logs showed Jamal and Derek in the same city 5 times over 3 years. Credit card traces matched purchases at outdoor stores, cabin rentals, fuel stations. Weston wasn't just a helper. He was likely the one who taught Jamal everything. The abductions, the drugs, the disappearances. With Jamal's data and Derek's profile, agents reconstructed Esther's final days. She had discovered Jamal's real identity days before her disappearance. She had been planning to leave him. She had even written a note. "There's something wrong with him. I found things. I'm scared." But she never sent it. Instead, she was taken to a storage facility 80 miles away, kept in a soundproof room, filmed, interrogated, until the final night when she fought back. Hard. Jamal's arm had been slashed in her resistance. It left a scar, now visible in his mugshot. Esther didn't go quietly. She fought like hell. Alicia stood at her sister's grave that October. The media had died down, but the pain hadn't. She held Jamal's letter in one hand, and a framed photo of Esther in the other. "You weren't a subject," she whispered. "You were a warrior." The FBI officially declared the Derek Weston investigation active. But he was still out there, still free. And Jamal? He hasn't spoken since. No interviews, no apologies, just a silent stare through reinforced glass. Forensic science didn't just solve Esther's case. It exposed a network. It gave names to the lost. It showed the power of DNA, soil analysis, encrypted data recovery, and behavioral profiling. And it saved lives. Across the country, families are reopening cases. New leads, new hope, all because one woman, Esther Gonzalez, refused to be forgotten. Her story shattered a monster's mask and opened the door for justice. For more chilling true crime stories, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.